What happens when a dictatorship builds a fortress in the heart of a democracy? This here is Royal Mint Court, soon to be the site of China's largest embassy in the world, and it's right here in London, Britain. But behind the redacted blueprints and high security rules lies something interestingly more sinister. A global system of surveillance, control, and repression, targeting not just Chinese nationals, but anyone who dares to speak out against China's regime. I'm Theo Althorpe Mullis, and this here is my co-host Eric. This is Dictators v Democrats, where we track the global fight between tyranny and freedom. And today we're digging into China's new London super embassy and how it fits into a wider campaign of transnational repression in the UK and beyond. Royal Mint Court sits just off of Tower Bridge, London's famous landmark in East London, a 5.5-acre historic site. He sneezed on me. Once home to Britain's coin production and now earmarked for China's diplomatic footprint. Bought by the Chinese government in 2018, the site is set to become Beijing's biggest embassy. There's a problem. Large parts of the building's plans have been redacted, and it's raised alarm bells. Deputy Prime Minister Angela Rayner has given China 2 weeks to either provide unredacted plans or explain why so much is hidden. And the Home Office, meanwhile, has called for a hard perimeter wall around the site, citing national security concerns, including the embassy's proximity to fibre optic cables and critical infrastructure. But the story goes beyond this fight over planning permission and architectural drawings. It's about whether the UK is about to let a hostile authoritarian state build a surveillance hub in the middle of its capital. And it's not the first time. The UK has been a key target of China's global repression machine. In 2022, multiple reports exposed Chinese police service stations operating in London and Glasgow. These weren't diplomatic offices, they were outposts for monitoring and pressuring Chinese nationals to behave while they're in the United Kingdom, to behave as far as the CCP is concerned. And that same year, Bob Chan, a Hong Kong pro-democracy activist, was dragged onto the grounds of the Chinese consulate in Manchester and beaten by staff. He was dragged from Britain onto Chinese soil, and police had to hesitate because going on to the embassy grounds without permission could be a real diplomatic incident. Thankfully, British police plucked up the courage, went in there and got him back out. And Beijing claims it was just a misunderstanding, but I'm not so sure. But we've seen before how embassies can be used to even murder, as happened to a Saudi Arabian journalist in Turkey. And these are not isolated events. They're part of a global campaign to harass and silence dissidents abroad. Journalists, Uyghurs, Hong Kongers, Tibetans, Taiwanese, anyone critical of the Chinese Communist Party. And embassies are often central to this strategy. The plans for China's new embassy include a massive cultural exchange centre, residential housing, and enough space for hundreds of staff. But key details are missing, redacted. A huge basement, we don't know what's going to be in it. And that's raised suspicion about hidden surveillance capabilities, underground structures, and espionage potential. Why are they being so secretive? British intelligence officials have warned for years that Chinese diplomatic sites may double as intelligence collection centres. And this new embassy, right next to sensitive critical infrastructure, could be a strategic outpost for cyber espionage, signal interception, and certainly the monitoring of exiled dissidents. And Angela Rayner has taken a harder stance than previous governments. She's demanded answers by September 9th. Many critics say the UK has already let things slide too far. Huawei, the Chinese phone network, was only blocked from UK 5G networks after significant pressure from the Americans. And Chinese state-linked Confucius institutes still operate in British universities. Efforts to hold Chinese officials accountable for abuses in UK soil have been slow at best. Eric, Britain faces a choice. Stand firm on democratic principles or keep turning a blind eye to authoritarian overreach. From Stockholm to Sydney, we see similar stories emerging. Embassies used to track and threaten, people that Beijing sees as a threat. The FBI has described China's transnational repression efforts as the most sophisticated in the world. And recently, the UK has made missteps in this regard. They've changed the way Hong Kong is treated in terms of extradition, allowing for ad hoc extradition requests. And China has put 19 Hong Kongers with million Hong Kong dollar bounties. That's about £100,000. Additionally, they sent letters to the neighbours of one Hong Kong dissident offering significant amounts of cash for them to report on her, for them to spy for a dictatorship, for a hostile state. China's proposed super embassy in London is not just a building, it's a symbol, it's a test of how far we will go to defend our democracies. And it's a symbol of how far authoritarian regimes are willing to go to extend their control. For those living here, for those for whom Britain is a refuge, this is terrifying. For Uyghurs, for Hong Kong activists, for Taiwanese, for Chinese dissidents, all of it is hugely concerning. And even for British citizens who are concerned about surveillance and sovereignty. What happened at Royal Mint Court matters. And if you are a British citizen, you happen to be watching this, I urge you to write to your MP and ask them to pressure the government on this embassy and allowing it. Because we cannot allow a fortress of authoritarianism to rise in the capital of what we claim to be is a proud democracy with a long history. And thank you for watching Dictators v Democrats. If you believe in shining a light on authoritarian power, if you believe in democracy, then please do subscribe, share, and support our work. See you next time. Always remember, democracy is non-negotiable. Thank you.